have another special edition of the latest news to keep you in the groove with Maya. Maya, why is this show so special today?
Because Manu Bennett is calling in.
Manu Bennett, woo! And of course, we know you from...
know me from Arrow, yeah.
I was going to say, we know you from so many things, but of course, most recently, and Maya's the biggest fan of Arrow, so I'm sure she has plenty of questions about that. And Maya, take it away, girl.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for calling in. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
It's my pleasure, but, kids, let me tell you something. I'm on the other side of the planet, like it's a big round thing, and you guys live on this side, and I live on the other side in a place called New Zealand. And when I was sent the request to do this video, they said it was on the 1st of March. And we're a day different to you guys. Like here it's now Tuesday and you're Monday, okay? Because New Zealand actually gets the first rays of sun. So we get the first day and then it goes all the way around the planet and ends up in America last, okay? So you guys are in our yesterday. We're kind of like ahead of you. We're in the future. But anyway, so I woke up yesterday to do this interview thinking it was happening on the 1st of March, but it was the 1st of March for you guys, which is the 2nd of March for us. Now, that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sorry it was confusing.
No worries.
Thank you. So my first question for you is who or what inspired you to start acting?
Oh, this is a very, very tough question, really. When I was a young boy, I was about 14 years of age. Unfortunately, I lost my mother and my brother in a car accident. When I woke up in the hospital, actually, and this is an interesting thing about life, my worst enemy at school, the bully, the one who used to bully me, he was in my bedside when I woke up, and he said, he said to me, I came to the hospital to see you, and I was like, what are you doing here? You're my enemy, And then I ended up finding out that he had lost his mother when he was young, and when he heard that my mother had been killed in the accident, he came to the hospital to see me, and we're now the best friends. We've been best friends all through our life, and it's amazing how adversity and can bring you together. And but from that moment, I had a lot of emotion that I needed to express. I'd lost my mother and my brother, and I found it in ballet. I did dancing to express myself, and then I found it in music. I played music, and that was one way for me to get my emotion into an expression. And then I decided to take up acting a few years later, and so many of my performances have a lot of emotions involved, and usually the producers always say to me, "Oh, we have such a roller coaster ride for you," and I said, "It's okay. I've been through a roller coaster." As I know, a lot of you kids there in the hospital, you're going through your own roller coaster right now.
Yeah.
I send you all my love. Yeah, I understand.
Thank you. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's
life, darling. It can, you've been in the hospital as well. You know what it's like. So yeah. But anyway, we can come out of it and champion that in our lives. So yeah. That's my message to you kids.
Yeah. Okay, so you played Slade Wilson in one of my very favorite shows, Arrow. What was your favorite part about working on a superhero show?
Well, to be honest, I'd never worked overseas before, and so this was the first job that I got to travel and live overseas to work. And so I flew to Canada, and we filmed in Vancouver. And I think it was just the travel, going to a new country, a new city, filming with a different crew from a different country. I mean, everything's the same. You still have a cameraman and a lighting operator and a sound guy and a production team. But yeah, it was quite unique to arrive in Vancouver City and find this culture and these people that I'd maybe I'd heard about ice hockey. I'd heard about ice hockey, but I never really understood ice hockey until I got to Vancouver. Unfortunately, they had the worst team in the competition that year. They would almost win a game and then they'd lose, and everybody was depressed in the city because of the ice hockey. but it was. But just getting onto a show like that and something that was very popular in the comic book world, to play Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, it was pretty cool. Especially when they bought the outfit, the costume, and we I got to put on the Deathstroke costume for the first time. That was a pretty amazing feeling to get dressed as something so iconic, in the comic book world. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was never like that into superheroes, but then Arrow premiered and I became obsessed with that, and then The Flash, and then so now I'm like completely obsessed. So yeah,
we're playing characters, and it's interesting because you play a superhero or you play a supervillain, and people meet you and they think, oh wow, you're Deathstroke. People always sort of say, talk to me in a Deathstroke voice, and then I do something like I say like, hey kid, always remember to keep your promises. And everything's so specific, when you're playing a character, that it's I don't know. I guess you generate these heroes and these villains on the big screen, and people are quite captivated by them, But then when you meet people in real life, you just become yourself again. And this is the you get, sometimes I have kids and they look at me and they go, "You're Deathstroke." Or if I've grown my hair now, and I don't have the beard and things like this, and so people have a certain image of you.
Arrow it's one of those shows that like I watch whenever I'm having like a ton of anxiety, and my mom always questions it. She doesn't question it, but she always asks, how is Arrow, like that kind of show, since like there's so much going on in it all the time. And I told like, it's one of those shows that like you have to really concentrate on, like you can't get in your head. And then, so like just get distracted and then come back and like know exactly what's happening. So like that is whenever I need to get out of my head, or like I don't want to think about anything else, like Arrow is what I watch.
Yeah, it's escapism, a bit of escapism into a fantasy world that you can know the story and relate to. Absolutely.
Yeah. So of all the roles that you've played and projects you've been a part of, have you had a favorite?
Every project is like working with a new family. When you work in the industry, the first thing that happens when you join a new project is that you meet all of the people that are involved in that project, from the wardrobe department to the makeup department to the production crew on the floor who filmed the project. You really meet so many new people every time you do a project, and they become like a little family, and you grow to love, many of these people. And, at the end, it's a bit sad because, you finish the project, they have a wrap party, and then you leave each other's lives, and this is one of the saddest things about being an actor is coming onto a show, having such a great time, and then saying goodbye to everybody, including the cast as well. The cast who you've worked with for so many years. Yeah, you're like, good luck with your next job. Bye. Yeah. So every time I do a show, there's this link with people, and making new friends. But each job as well. People always ask me, "What's your favorite role?" But it's like a tree. It's like being an actor has become like a tree for me. And there's branches. Each show is like a branch with fruit on it, and I enjoy all the fruit. Sometimes it can be a little bitter. Sometimes it can be a little bit stressful, and you have to wake up like very early in the morning, like 4 a.m. to do makeup and then go into the set and stuff like that. And but if you love your job, which I love my job, it's a very creative, enjoyable environment that I work in all the time. Then you don't mind all of these early hours and long days, long shoot days. Sometimes you have to finish a scene by the end of the day, and it's not so easy to have like a giant battle scene or a big action scene and to be able to shoot all of that in one day. And sometimes, right at the end of the day, because it costs a lot of money to be shooting, like on something like The Hobbit, to shoot each hour would cost like, I don't know, but tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, even when you've got to go to the bathroom, you've got to use the bathroom, that's probably going to cost a few $100s to them in production time. So you got to go really fast, right? but
yeah.
But it's like the clock is ticking always. It's and you feel that. But it's the relationships that you have in every project is what's really valuable about them in the end. It's what you remember most. I mean, you go watch it on the screen when you've finished your production, and you see this incredible story that the writer and the producers intended to make. But your experience was more of a part of a jigsaw puzzle, going onto set, and action and doing your performance and cut. And here comes the tea and coffee guy. And you go, "Oh, can I have a cup of coffee? I'm feeling I need a bit more energy." So someone goes and makes you a cup of coffee, and, and then you have to go and do a change in wardrobe or whatever. And all of these little bits are part of your real day. That's the part of the job, that other people don't even see. And it's all a very fascinating and enjoyable process creatively, yeah. And the people behind the camera never get enough recognition. Nobody ever knows who they are. Yeah. We're like the cow that's on the front of a milk carton, and everyone goes like, "Oh, that's the cow from the milk carton," but somebody else made the milk,
Yeah. 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 So you were in the Hobbit movies. What was it like to be part of such an iconic franchise?
Well, it was mind-blowing. When I first, as a matter of fact, I didn't get the job first. I was the second person cast as Azog. Originally, they tried to make the character, because he was a very big character, they tried to find somebody who was 7 foot tall. Well, they found somebody who was 7 foot tall, and they put him in costume. But when they came in close and they did the filming of the drama, this person couldn't bring the acting that they required. It didn't seem like scary enough or, like powerful enough or something, and when you have when you have the makeup put on, it can, when you come up close, sometimes it mightn't look altogether real. And so they decided to reshoot that character in green screen, and then create like the actor into a 7 foot character just by virtue of technology, and using special effects. So, I'm 5'10", and they brought me in and they put me in a green screen. They then, you have to create all of the animal expressions, like Azog was a giant orc. So I watched the movie Jaws about the white shark, about the white shark Jaws. And I based my character upon this giant white shark and Darth Vader from Star Wars. So I tried to get a very deep voice, and then like the physical sort of threat of like a great white shark. And I kind of moved in a certain way like a predator, and then I used the deep voice, I'd create these this kind of voice of a deep like I based it on Darth Vader. But we have to find a starting point. As when you ask to play a creature, you have to think about the nature of the creature. and playing like the big white orc Azog, I had to think like, well, he was the leader of an empire, as was Darth Vader, and I thought Darth Vader was the best version I could think of kind of like a dark leader of a mighty empire. And then as a beast, as an animal, the closest I could think of anything that ever scared me was the movie's Jaws, about the great white shark. And so I physically played him like that, and for his voice I used Darth Vader. Yeah. It was plagiarism. I stole 2 other characters.
So do you have any upcoming projects?
Yeah, I just finished a film here in New Zealand. Very interesting film. Can't really say much about it. These things we're all zipped to not talk about them, but until they're released. So, but it'll come out in about October.
Oh, cool. So have you discovered any new hobbies or talents during quarantine?
Yeah, I've put a lot more time into my writing. I've learned that I can renovate my own home. Unsuccessfully right now. My house is in half. It's like I pulled down a whole bunch of walls, and anyway, but everyone seems to be renovating during the pandemic, Yeah. I think people are trying, because they're stuck in their homes, they're deciding that they'll work on their homes, So I've decided to do a bit of work on my house. I live here. I live on the beach in New Zealand. Maybe the kids want to see where I live. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I flip the camera here? Can I flip it? No, I can't. Okay, so this is where I live. It's raining right now, but we'll go out. Okay, can you see?
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's so pretty.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
So very cool. Who thought we'd get to see New Zealand today?
Yeah.
I'm going to go surfing. After I finish with you guys, I'm going for a surf.
How long have you been surfing?
Oh, many years. Too many.
Is right by your house a good place to surf?
Oh, yeah. Look, here's all my boards. Look.
Oh, so cool.
Oh, cool.
Was that a stand-up paddleboard I saw too?
Yeah, that's what I do. I stand up paddleboard on the surf.
So I have a couple fun questions for you. So if somebody narrated your life, who would you want the narrator to be?
Jason Momoa.
Oh, good one.
So is there a certain line?
Polynesian. The reason why I say that is he's Polynesian, like me. Jason Momoa is originally he's got some Hawaiian blood, and I'm a New Zealand Maori, so we're of a similar kind of origin.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So is there a certain line from a movie, song, or book that has always stuck with you and inspires you?
Yeah, just straight off the bat, I would say something like "We Are the Champions" by Queen. A good motivator.
Yeah, that'll get you going for sure.
"Stand by Me."
Oh yeah,
a classic song. Yeah, is that enough?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to, just when I was saying how obsessed I am with Arrow, I have an Arrow necklace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I constantly talk about Arrow. So,
what do you want to know? Have you got any, what questions about Arrow would you like me to answer?
Oh,
specifically. Any specifics? Come on, you can get all the dirt now.
Okay. Yeah. could you? Okay, I have a couple. Could you relate to Slade Wilson in any way?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could. I mean, I feel like I've been through a battle in my life, and so, being somebody who had to work on survival, and was able to even come through the stage of Mirakuru in the end, and reconnect with Oliver. I thought all of that was very, very poetic and beautiful. One of the things that I was sort of a little bit vocal about in the beginning was, the darkness that they made Slade go through, in comparison to some of the comic book world, and their portrayal of Slade Wilson, Deathstroke. And, in the end, it only mattered to me to show people that, you can overcome adversity. It's always sort of what I try to, encapture most in my characters, whether it's Crixus of Spartacus or Slade Wilson or Alanon from the Shannara Chronicles. It's always, for me, the most interesting characters are the ones that aren't so shiny and untouchable, aren't so perfect, the ones that have hurt, the ones that have been through pain, the ones that understand that life is a struggle, and then showing how to rebuild those characters in a certain way, to be able to come back and have strength and morality and get back on the path of doing good things and being happy. It's very, very important, one of the big lessons for everybody there in the hospital,
Yeah.
Struggle is part of life, and we have to do our best to overcome it, and then use it as a strength, not as a weakness.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite episode to film?
Anything that was, most of the time, we'd shoot in studio and on location, and so, going out sometimes to a new location, when you're filming and you get to go to some wonderful place and there's a helicopter there and then you go up in the helicopter or something like this, that's always really, really nice. I do remember, I'm going to talk about one story. I do remember being filming in Vancouver up on top of this mountain where there was a big dam. And I just wandered off set. I had a couple of hours break between my scenes. And I wandered off set and I saw an old man sitting over on the side of this reservoir fishing. And I walked over to him and I forgot that I had my costume on because I was dressed like like Slade Wilson. And I walked up to him and I went, "Hey," and he turned around and he sort of jumped. And I was like, oh, I'm in costume. I'm shooting a TV production and this is my costume. So don't worry about it. And then, but as he told me his story, I realized why he jumped. Because I said to him, what are you doing here, sir? Fishing on the side of this reservoir on top of this mountain. And how did you get here? And he said, I parked down at the car park and I walk up the mountain to here. It takes me about, an hour, 2 hours to come here. And then I fish and I think about my life. And I said, really? I said, wow. And he said, yeah, I lost. He was like 90. He was 94 years old.
Wow.
This very old man. And I said, oh, really? Wow. You look, you're 94 and you walk all the way up here? And he said, yes, I'm still very strong. And I said, you are? And he said, life made me strong. And now as a 94-year-old man, he was able to climb up to this beautiful reservoir and go fishing and, reflect on the happy and the difficult times. And yeah, it was almost like a small movie in itself when I met this man. Such an incredible tale of strength. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, what song would be on the soundtrack to your life?
I don't know. Like, for some reason, when I do karaoke, I always end up singing this Elvis Presley song called, or Frank Sinatra did it as well, called "I Did It My Way." Yeah. I think in life we can live and write our own signature, or we can be on a contract under somebody else's signature. It really depends on the path you want to take, But I think my life has been a sort of a path that I've always gone out and approached things, on my own terms. Yeah.
Cool. So my last question for you is, who do you consider to be a real life superhero and why?
I think Elon Musk right now is creating some things that will, like electric cars, like changing our consumption of fuels and fossil fuels, and young Greta Thunberg stepping up as a young person representing the new generation of people who will occupy this planet long after we're gone. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is doing a really wonderful job on his awareness of the environment. I mean, I think all the people out there who are struggling and surviving through this COVID, everybody can give themselves a pat on the back for being able to get through this difficult time the world's facing. I think everyone's got a degree of hero coming out in them, if they can find it. But probably the kids who are watching this right now, they're in hospital, as young people, having to deal with adversity, find your hero, that's it must be in you, that must be the way to prevail is to find the hero in yourself. And I hope you find it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I just loved talking to you. I still can't believe this is happening. I've been ever since we got this set up, I've been telling people, I'm going to talk to Slade Wilson. So do I seem to you like Slade Wilson? This is the thing, you see, it's such a crafted character. Yeah.
But he's very military.
Yeah.
And
you're a lot nicer. And less scary, so.
There you go. Well, that's the thing, like when I create Slade, he's very,
yeah.
It's like he's in military mode all the time, Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending so much time with us and getting in touch with us from halfway around the world. You do win the prize for talking to us from the farthest distance, for sure. We have Manu Bennett all the way from New Zealand. Of course, you guys know him from Arrow. And just know, if you're ever in Colorado, you come on by the Seacrest studio, I'm sure, at the Children's Hospital. I'm sure the kids here would love to meet you.
I'd love to, yeah. Next time I come to Colorado, I'll get past that twister and come to the hospital.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
Bye.
Bye, guys.